Well, we're sort of fast tracking through October, and we talk about Beyond Month this month, and we're always talking about how do we go beyond ourselves and reach out past our own lives to make an impact on those around us. And we've already had some awesome messages preached, and I'd encourage you, go back over the last few weeks. There's a podcast. You can get the podcast and do that, and just get really stirred in your faith for living a beyond life. I was just going to say, I was going to just give it up for Michael O'Keefe and the Compassion. You know, I took a team to Brazil about, I don't know, Renelle, you were there. Was it 5, 6 years ago? Time flies, something like that. And oh my gosh, 7. Yeah, okay, 7 years. Time really does fly. And we took a team to Brazil. It was incredible. We were there maybe 3 weeks or so. And I got to see literally, church, firsthand what your money does, like food on a plate, like healthy, like rich, great, fresh produce. And I said to one of the Compassion directors that were at the site, I said, this is great food. And she said, yeah, for many of these kids, meal until the next day. That's it. They'll get one meal and that'll be it. And it was, so we work really hard. So can I encourage you, like I saw firsthand what happens to these kids' lives, and they get introduced to Jesus, and you're a light and you spread the gospel in such a tangible way. So if you haven't already sponsored a child, I encourage you to do so today. But here we are, we're talking about beyond. And how many of us know that our conviction is that beyond life, it's not something we do in a month. Life, living a beyond life is actually part of who we are. It's actually part of our DNA. My prayer this morning is that will become part of your DNA as well, if it isn't already. Here's what I've discovered, church, around living a beyond life. The most meaningful life that you and I can live, only comes when we reach out to others. Only comes when we release what's on the inside of us into and towards other people's lives. You know, we talk about, who's heard of the term living your best life? Just give me a wave. It's like it almost becomes a cliche. There's good and bad news around that. The good and bad news is this. You can live your best life, but it's no longer yours. Ooh, I just pushed a button then. People say to me, I want to find my destiny. It's this big ethereal word, I want to find my destiny. And I said, well, it's no longer your destiny. It's his destiny through you. Okay, I'm going to preach this morning, if that's okay. It's his destiny. The Bible says you lose your life so that you can find life. And we move from just living to a life of significance when we start to do that. So actually you gain life, you gain joy, you gain a purpose when we actually give our life away and say, all right, Lord, I'm going to live from the inside out. I'm going to take what I have and make it yours. So the outworking of that is really, really real. I mean, you may say, because here's my conviction, and it's this. Faith without a context actually becomes irrelevant. Let me say it again. Faith without a context becomes irrelevant. In other words, my faith without a visible, tangible outworking just remains an ideal or a value. So if I was to say to you this morning, well, I really believe in friendship. It's one of my values. It's an ideal. It's a way of me living my life. I totally believe in it. But actually, if you're not friendly and you don't reach out and make friends, it's actually not a value. It's just a nice idea. So the context by which it's outworked makes it meaningful, makes it relevant. And so God has called all of us to live. If we're saying, I believe in Jesus, he's saying, well, let's put it in a context where it can manifest itself through serving and giving and being a light to those around me. Now, the challenge is that you and I live in a very natural world. When we try and do this, I don't know about you, but I get lost in what I call the naturalness of life, and it's called routine. So you and I are going to get up tomorrow morning. We're probably going to work maybe a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, whatever our hours are, and we work And on Saturdays, we'll do some housework and we'll take the kids to sport and we'll have some friends over and we'll get up and we'll go to church and we'll do it all again. So we get in this routine. And how many of us know it's very easy to lose meaning in that when we don't have what I call like the true north of our lives, when we don't live outside of ourselves. And I can get into busy. Everybody say busy. Is there anybody here that's not busy? Give me a wave. Yeah, no, can we swap lives? No, that's all right, babe, I wouldn't do that for anything in the world. So I want to talk about just a couple of what I call virtues this morning. That's a real old school term, I know. So all the young people are like, say what? Okay, that was a bit rapper. Just like, I don't know where that was, gangster. I don't know where that came from. No. But so it's an old school term, virtue. What are the virtues that God wants us to have to live a beyond life? I'm going to try and get through just a couple of virtues today. If you get your Bibles here, I want you to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. It's a very well-known passage. I just want to stir you today. I want to challenge you today. 1 Corinthians 9:24, Paul is giving to living a beyond. He's giving us a key so that we live on purpose. We don't live busy. How many of us know that we can mistake busyness for productive? We can confuse busy and activity for actually a focused life and a careful life and a laser-like life. And so he says this, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way. I love that. Run in such a way. Run in a way that causes us to live where what God's put on the inside of us, it gets released. Live in such a way, run in such a way that everyone gets the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. I really want to I want to move forward, but let me just stop there. Let me just say that again. We do it to get a crown that will last forever. I want you to just think about forever. What does that look like? Do you ever do those moments where you look up at the stars, you try and count the stars, and it's like so overwhelming, it just does your head in? And that's what eternity is like, forever. In years to come, I'll be forgotten, this message will be forgotten, but there's a forever for you. There's a forever. And what we do now reaches into eternity. I want to live a life that reaches into eternity. The pull is busy. The pull is distraction. The pull is there's so much going on. Did you know, I was talking to one of the guys after the 8:30 and he said, in your settings, if you've got a phone, quickly get your phone out, get your phone out. Just give us a wave if you've got a phone, a tablet, a piece of thing, right? He said, you can not only see how long you've been on your phone, but you can see how many pickups. How many times you've just picked up your phone and opened it. And he showed me his. In one day, yesterday, 231 times. He picked up his phone and checked it or whatever he was doing. 231 times. Did you know that on average, when you're busy doing what you need to do, on average, in a working day, you get interrupted 30 times, on average. Now, here's a Dr. Phil moment, I've got to confess. When you're right in the middle of that zone where you're focused and I'm just there and I'm getting through something, and you think, I'll just stop and check an email, or I'll just check my phone. Did you know it can take up to 25 minutes to get back to the same level of focus that you had before you self-interrupted? Does anyone need some inner healing right now? Because that's kind of like, no wonder we go, have you ever said this? Where's the day? Where's the day gone? It's because we're full. We've got so many things that are competing for our time and our energy. So Paul's saying here, in a single word, focus. He's saying, we're living in a time where everything's going to be competing for your priority. Everything's going to be competing for your heart. And I'm not going to be able to live a beyond life if it's full of distraction and running to and fro constantly. I often think of it like this. God wants you and I to feel the urgency of the eternal, amongst the normality of the temporal. The urgency of the eternal amongst the normality of the temporal. Because life is so overwhelming. I remember a couple of years ago, if any of you live on the north side, there's a circus that comes to town up at North Lakes. They themselves there for a couple of weeks. So when our kids were little, we used to live up there, and I took one of the kids to this small, sort of big top. It was more like a small top, and they did a show in there, and they kick off the show, and I had Ella. She was on my shoulders, and we've ducked in, and we're kind of standing there. I just never forget. And the clown comes running out on stage, and the spotlight goes on him. Anyway, he runs off stage. It's this stick, and it was sand, basically. It jams it into the ground, runs off, gets this big white spinning plate, and he puts the plate carefully on the stick, and he starts to spin it. I think that's pretty good. It's pretty impressive. It's kind of like old school entertainment. And then he races off stage and gets stick number 2 and puts it beside that one, and then puts a plate and starts to spin it, and then he gets plate number 3, and I'm thinking, this is pretty good. Of course, by the time he gets to plate 6 or 7, 1 or 2 are nearly falling off, so he races back, and he's given them a little bit of a touch, and he gets to like 9 or 10 of these plates, and everyone's laughing and having a wonderful time. I'm having an emotional breakdown because I'm looking going, that's my whole life, right? Isn't it interesting how God's an opportunist? And he says to me in that moment, Tony, what are the spinning plates in your life that you're prepared to let go of to be really effective for me? And in that moment, I realized it's so easy to do so many good things, but sacrifice them for the great. So many good things that we sacrifice for the great. And my question to you is, what's the Holy Spirit saying to you? There's plenty of good things in our life, but are we sacrificing for the great? What are the things that God's called us to do? So like Paul, we can say, I'm running the race. I don't beat the air wildly, but I'm focused and I'm clear on what God's calling me to do. Because here's what I often find. The enemy doesn't have to come and attack me. He just has to get me busy. He just has to get me distracted, so I dilute the power that's in me. I dilute the focus that I have so that I can do lots of good things, but not truly the few things done really well that maybe are great for his kingdom. Is that making sense this morning? So good. Good to the great. You know, when I was a kid, I don't know about you, maybe it's a boy thing, I'm not sure, I'm not stereotyping, but we would get our magnifying glasses. And the good old magnifying glass, maybe you're supposed to use it in science, but I would go out into the backyard, and all I wanted to do was just get that magnifying glass on the right angle. And if you just got it in the right kind of angle and you got the sun hitting on it, now all the boys are like, yeah, I know. Yeah, this or paper or maybe an ant, potentially. I'm not saying you would do that. An ant, I'd never did that. But it was like, it was awesome. You'd start fires, not that I did that either. Right. Or put it on my sibling and no, okay, way too far, right? But you know what science says? If you can get that magnifying glass and you can get it focused on the right angle with the sun, it'll produce more than 1,000 degrees of heat. 1,000 degrees. How do you do that? Focus. It's just in the right angle, in the right way, at the right time. And I'm wondering what God and I to say no to in this season in order to say yes to in this season. There's some good things that we need to say no to because it highlights the great things that God's calling us into. Here's the question from point 1 I want to leave you with, and it's this. What's hindering my life from living a beyond life? And what's helping my life to live a beyond life? What is helping and hindering? Helping and hindering. And often I find it's not till I stop. Last month, we had a whole month on frequency hearing from God. Sometimes I just stop and be brave enough to go, right, Holy Spirit, what's the spinning plate? What's the spinning plate that I need to let go of to truly remain focused, usable for the Master in my life? Maybe that's something that you can sit with and go, all right, God, what's helping or hindering me today? The second virtue I think that we need to grab a hold of to live a beyond life, and this is something which I kind of feel like it's redundant because it's such a powerful part of the culture of our church, and that's living a life of deep commitment. Everybody say deep commitment. You know, the whole Bible from beginning to end is about us making commitments to God. It's making vows to God. It's making covenants with God. God is a covenant making and keeping God. And he says anybody that truly can finish the race well is going to require commitment. Not a lot of different things, but just to a few things really, really well. I think about Joshua and Caleb, you know, in the Old Testament, and you know, they went through the wilderness with the children of Israel for 40 years, and all of them died off. Only 2 lasted. It's because they stayed in faith, and a part of that is they stayed committed to their purpose. They stayed committed to their cause. They stayed committed to what God had called them to do, committed to the race. I think that's such a high calling, that we go with what God's called us to do. And I know in this place, you know, this building, the legacy that's been left, that's because I look across you this morning, I see a group of committed people. I see a group of people that have said, you know what, I'm going to draw my stakes deep into the ground. I'm going to serve. I'm going to give. I'm going to love, even when it's not easy to do, because I've made a decision that commitment is part of my DNA. Commitment is a part of who I am. I'm the first one here. I'm the last one to leave. Maybe you're here today and you haven't found your place here, a place to serve, a place to be a part of a community. I think it starts with a decision. Let me say this, it doesn't start with a feeling. I wish it started with a feeling. Most of the things that I've been successful by the grace of God have been done very little with feeling. And me making a virtuous commitment, I'm going to stick at that thing, I'm going to stick at that thing. And as a result, I begin to see fruit in my life. Commitment. Just turn to the person and just say, commitment. Commitment. Oh, that was a little bit kind of, yeah, let's just try that again. Commitment. Yeah, some of you are afraid of. All right, we'll have an altar call. Here we go. So, focus. Are you because, without labouring the point, the world goes, well, whatever's the latest thing, whatever's the latest diet, whatever's the latest thing, whatever the latest trend is. And so the world, it's like a tree tossed to and fro in the wind. And they never find themselves truly having purpose because it's whatever the latest feeling or fad is. But God has called us to promises. He's called us to purpose. And in those things, again, we truly find a meaningful life through commitment. I know it's old school. It doesn't sound terribly fancy, but I tell you what, God is calling his people to be committed to his house, committed to discipleship, committed to one another. Sometimes people drive me crazy. I shouldn't say that. I'm a pastor. I'm in the people business. But I love people, and I've made a commitment that I'm going to love them. Whether they love me or not is probably less important. I'm committed to the relationship. I'm committed to repair. I'm committed because it's part of the virtues that God's called us into. And the last one, then pouring out what God's placed on the inside of you. Every single one of us, when God created you in the womb, he placed things on the inside of you. We call them gifts. The Bible calls them abilities and talents. And God's greatest desire is that those things would be unlocked on the inside of you. Unlocked, planted into soil so that you can do what God's called you to do. For some of you, you're a great big thinker. Some of you, you're into the detail. Some of you are creative. Some of you, you're really practical with your hands. And the thing is with a gift, it's a gift. It's so natural to you, it doesn't even feel like it's supernatural. Would you agree with that? It's so normal. It's like, man, you're great. John, you're great with people. So what do you mean? It's just what I do. That's right. It's part of his DNA. It's so natural. And what happens is you and I can say to God, I love Chris's message. He stole my point number 3 this morning. There's things in your hand, and some of you have underestimated the power of thing in your life because the enemy has come to you and said, well, that's just who you are. There's nothing special about that. There's nothing supernatural about that. And the enemy goes, well, you're not on the stage preaching, or you're not a musician, or whatever it is. But actually, when you release those small things that are in your life and they compound over time, I want to tell you, you start to release such incredible things into other people's lives. Oh, I just encourage people and say, hey, you're doing a good job. That is a gift. It's called the gift of encouragement. When you come here and serve in this beautiful house, the church, the house of God, when you begin to release that, it begins to impact people's lives. I mean, really impact people's lives. I'm going to do a little demonstration to show you when you begin to serve in this place, when you begin to release these gifts, the impact that it's going to have on those around you. Would you like to see how God sees it? Thanks, Vanessa. So I appreciate that. Would you like to see it? Here we go. I'm going to get some volunteers. Now, I got some volunteers in the first service. They're fired, right? They were mischievous. It ended up in a water fight. It was just terrible. So here we go. We're going to try this. Musicians are here. Okay, here we go. I'm going over this side. All right, Vanessa, are you going to behave? Okay, Vanessa, John, Jeff, Jenny, you guys can come up here. I'll get Roswell because I know he'll behave himself. Now, maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay. Now, I promised myself I wouldn't spill this. I probably will. That's okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay. 2, 4, 5. All right. Rachel, come up. You can be my volunteer. Just picked on you. Come up here. Come on, give her a hand. Come up. Okay, so you stand there.
Thanks for volunteering.
Thanks for volunteering. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Now, can you guys grab a glass that's got water in it and leave the empty one? So quickly grab that. So let's just say, Rach, she's looking for a new church. She's been through maybe a lot of trial. She's got anxiety. Her life has lost purpose and direction. I told you these guys, I can't trust them. It's terrible. Anyway, they're drinking already. So here we go. So she's looking to find a sense of connection. She's looking to find a sense of hope. She's been through maybe some really tough times and she's hoping that... So this is what she does. She drives into the car park. She walks into the front door and immediately... And they walk into his smile, they shake her hand, they ask how she is, okay? So Rach, here's your glass. You go, so John's the welcome team. So you go to him and he fills her cup just a little bit, maybe a third. What a great, I feel welcome, okay? She walks into the service and begins to hear the worship. She begins to feel what she hasn't felt in maybe years, and it's the presence of God. And it's because of these guys. They've made a decision and a commitment. They're going to be here. They're going to release their gift to be able to usher us in. So in worship, Jeff Cake, yep, her tank, her emotional bank, her soul gets filled a little bit. We hit the preaching of the word. And the preaching of the word, who's that? Oh, it's Jenny. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So Jen, if you want to fill her up a little bit, because Jen's got that rare gift that she can speak and she can communicate. So now hear me. The worry and the fear and the anxiety that she had, it's now replaced with faith. It's now replaced with hope. It's now replaced with, I couldn't even see my future past next week, but the message that was brought has sparked hope and faith on the inside of me so that I can walk out and face tomorrow, okay? So now her spirit is starting to come alive. Then she gets Ness, and Vanessa takes her out into the cafe, and the welcome team, they take her out, they give her a coffee, they hear her story, they bring someone else who sort of similar age stage, starts talking. All of a sudden she has a sense of connection. She has a sense that this could be her family. So from the moment she's walked in, these people are pouring out what they have. And here's what we say. Hear me. I'm just on the door. I'm just greeting. No big deal. No, not big deal. Look, her cup's almost full. I'm just on the kids team. I just rock up and look after. Hear me, church. You're not on a roster. You're a minister. You're not just coming to serve somewhere. You're using what you have, and it fills people's lives. And the last one, she gets a call from Roswell during the week to say, how was the service? Can we get you locked into a group? Can we get you to find some Maybe some friends. Can we get you to, how about we pray together? How about we some friends? Now her soul is full. Come on. Cool, come on. Look at that. So now, oh my goodness, that wasn't scripted, right? So she keeps coming back every week, and guess what happens? She gets healed. She gets healed. She gets restored because you weren't just doing your little whole thing, because she decided to say, God, how do I build your house? This is all I've got. And like Chris said, it's 5 loaves and 2 fish. He said, that's more than enough for me to be able to use you in my plans and my purposes. And I want to tell you, after the 8:30 service, I was talking to a guy that's been coming for about a month. He was there and he said, I just want to thank you. He said, that was me. He said, I got filled by these different things. He said, please tell them that what you do has meaning. What you do has purpose. And for you, it may be a small thing. He said, it was a big thing for me. And I want to tell you, my soul is getting filled. Come on, why don't you give the Lord a hand this morning? Thank you, volunteers. Sorry, stewards, who do a great job. Let's get a little bit of a mop up. Yeah, mop up. This, you and I, sometimes we look at what we do in isolation. It's like, I just doing my thing. This is how God wants you to see the gifts that He has, that you have on the inside of you. Never underestimate the 5 loaves. This is all I've got. Moses said, God, you can't use me. He said, what's in your hand? He said, I've just got a walking stick. It's just a staff. He said, that'll do it. I'll split the waters with that. I'll bring the miraculous with that. It's just a stick. He said, that's all I need. That little boy, 5 loaves and 2 fish. The woman with the oil, she goes, all I've got is oil. He said, if you will, he said, there'll be more than enough for you and for your boy. Pouring the oil, pouring it out of our lives. I never want you to underestimate the power of what's on the inside of you. Say, God, I want to dig mistake deep. I want to commit. I want to serve. I want to go beyond myself. For some of you, you've got things in your life, practical things like swimming pools and trailers. Hudson Dale, I think he was here. He's here this morning. Hudson Dale has got so many men to our men's breakfast because he lends his trailer, but you've got to come to men's breakfast and they find connection. It's a tool to a treasure. It's a tool, now it's a treasure for the kingdom. Maybe you've got something in your hand to give. I know you do. Is it serving? Is it giving? Is it helping? Is it solving? Whatever it is, I just want that to get awakened on the inside of everybody here this morning.